We are now live on Zoom.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome. We're gonna get the meeting started, but the first thing we're gonna do is there's a flag over there. We're gonna do the Pledge of Allegiance. Does anyone want to lead us to the Pledge of Allegiance?
Right.
I will. All right, Mike.
Stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mike. Can you do a roll call?
Marquez de la Plata.
Here.
Mike Nichols.
Present.
Joe Rugoff is absent. Spencer Scott is absent. Betsy Van Dyke. Here. Cynthia Strucker. Here. Vicky Clues. Here. Lonnie Lazar.
Here.
And Lisa Nominson. Here.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so we're gonna move to
Debbie. Sorry, I'm here. Oh, and Kathy is here. I'm sorry, Kathy is here for Jeff.
No, that's all right.
Right.
Okay, we're gonna move on to item 2, which is approval of agenda. I'm sure everyone has, well, I'm not sure. I hope you've all read the agenda.
Yes.
One thing I'll say here is that we do have an agenda, and there is time up front for public comment on items that are not on the agenda. There's also time for council member comments on items on the agenda as well. Don't be like put off if we don't, that's not a back and forth discussion. So you can say what you say. We can't comment on things or talk about stuff that's not on the agenda because it's not on the agenda. We're not being rude. It's just the way the Brown Act works. Okay, so can I get someone to move to approve the agenda?
I so move.
Second.
Cynthia, Mike. All in favor?
Aye.
All of them. Now, if anyone on the council has a conflict with items that are on the agenda, now's the time to say so. Anyone? No? Okay, we'll move to item 4, which is the consent agenda, and there's 2 items on the consent agenda. We have the July 11th minutes. Let's take them separately. Does anyone have any comments on the or move to approve the minutes from last month's meeting?
I have one question about the minutes, which is when it talks about a number 6, Lon being a member of the public because he was stuck in traffic. I didn't understand why he became a member of the public and he wasn't a member. I don't know if we have an answer, but it just, I was wondering. Say again.
What? I didn't hear you.
When Lon was stuck in traffic,
yes,
and he said he became a member of the public, not a member of the council anymore. I just wanted, if anyone understood the clarification of that, because I didn't. So I just wanted to know what.
He was because he wasn't in person.
Okay.
He was attending as a member of the public.
Because
he
hadn't had an exception.
Right.
He didn't have,
because he didn't have time to get an exception because it kind of happened.
Yeah.
and it wouldn't have qualified for anything.
I get it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else have any comments on the minutes?
Move to approve the minutes.
Second. Lonnie has seconded.
Are you going to do them all at once, minutes?
I wanted you to, and then we can approve them all at once, but I mean both items. But I just wanted to
talk about them.
Talk about them.
Okay.
There's
I
more.
withdraw the.
Okay. Annual report. I apologize. It's a few months late, but.
Is it for 2025 or 20?
What year is it?
2023.
For 2024, 23.
I just have one question about it.
Yeah.
For land use, it says chair Mike, but I was wondering if there were other members.
On our land use committee in 2023.
Well, yeah, on the thing I read.
I didn't prepare the end report.
It only says
Like,
oh, it just says
the conclusion, it only says the chair. I just think for you know, future record, if there was anyone else on the committee,
There was.
we could write.
Yeah, I can amend it.
We can add them.
I can add
Awesome.
the
Yeah.
committee members.
Cool.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
Anyone
Great
have a-
letter. Thank you for writing.
any other comments on, yeah,
I had just a quick comment, okay, on the 2023 reports. And to put it in context, when a number of us, Lonnie, myself, Vicky, Patty, Betsy, were doing the Rio Fest event, we all mentioned how our booth just looked absolutely shabby compared to everybody else's. And, you know, some of them, there were craftspeople there, and so they, of course, had a lot of beautiful things and all that sort of thing, but every other nonprofit had, you know, banners and tablecloth and merch to give away and all kinds of things to draw people in. And aside from our bright and shining faces, there really wasn't any reason to stop by our booth. I mean, it was just,
We need to up our game.
yeah,
That's what
we
you're saying.
really need to up our game. And I saw that at some point in 23, there had been a bunch of talk about that, and I don't know if any money was actually appropriated, but boy, we really, I mean, we really have to do something if we're serious about community engagement, which I think we are.
The COMCOM had recommended some swag and some other things to help promote people coming into our booth, but we did not get the money for that.
Noted an upcoming board of supervisors meeting that there's a $6,000 contribution to the Lower Russian River MAC staff. Is any of that money going to be allocated for the items that we're talking about?
Yeah.
My understanding is that there is going to be money for the swag. I believe that the $6,000 is more meeting room rental, interpretation,
So
but a portion of. There will be, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know what.
You know, it could be a banner or something for a pop-up or what have you, so that there's an identifiable presence at these events.
Well,
We do have a banner. We do have a
Yeah,
banner.
we have a banner. That
so
was it.
can I, is that something that should be incorporated? That, I don't think that's
No,
a
that
separate
was just a
discussion.
comment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we're talking about the annual report.
Yeah. It was in the report.
Oh, okay,
Then we
okay.
talked about it.
So can we get someone to make a motion to
I
approve?
move the consent.
With the addition of the land use
Correct.
committee member names.
Yes,
Absolutely.
second? All right, great. Okay, now we can go to council member comment on items that are not on the agenda.
I have something that I'd like to announce. On August 31st, we will be having the first annual Pie in the Park event to benefit the park itself and also to celebrate Lucy Hardcastle's 80th birthday. Hard to imagine. She has more energy than all of us put together. And it's from 3 to 5:30 in the park itself. It's great if you can bring a pie, but you don't have to bring a pie. Just eat some pie and maybe try to win a pie. It's going to be fun. They'll have, you know, things for the kids and 3 to 5:30 on August 31st. Come help us keep the park beautiful.
Thank you. Anyone else have a comment? Mike,
Thank you. Pleased to announce that Friends of Rio Nito have done a fantastic job on outreach for the emergency radio program. We have a training session coming up on Sunday at 11 o'clock, and we've got, I think, close to 80 people attending.
Wow.
And I guess we're limited to 100.
Yep.
But we probably will reach 100 people. So we have 8 trainers that are going to be at the meeting, and we truly appreciate the hard work that the Friends of Rio Nito did to kick this event off. Our next event is going to be in Sebastopol, and then we have an event in Petaluma, and then finally in September, we're going to have an event in Monterey/Villa Grande.
All right, anyone else?
I believe there's at least one member of the public who's going to speak to this, but it falls under the approval of a brief discussion about an item to be considered for future agenda. Forestville has a group called Bicycle Friendly Forestville that's very committed to and desirous of getting county assistance in making wayfinding signs available and additional bike lanes and connecting existing bike paths so that pedestrians and bicyclists can be protected and moved away and given alternatives to traversing the car-laden areas. And I would like the council to consider on a future agenda item, having Bike Friendly Forestville make a formal presentation on that.
Okay. Anyone else?
I have one other thing.
Yes.
I wanted to bring up a topic that has been brought to me a few times, and someone who's in the audience brought it to me again. And that's the problem of noise pollution in our lovely communities. And as I understand it, there is not a noise ordinance in the unincorporated areas of Sonoma. And we've done a really good job of writing that up for vacation rentals, for example, but I think it's worth discussion about, you know, what we can do to have more clarification around that in the unincorporated areas.
And I can weigh in on that and just let you know that that's something that the Board of Supervisors is aware of. We get a lot of comments in about that. And it's something that will be part of the general plan process. That could be. They'll be talking about that.
So maybe we can hear more about that
as we drill into general plan discussion. That's the time for that to come up.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Just also, Vicki and I are going to be at the farmers market tomorrow in Forestville, peopling our non-swaggable booth and talking about the MAC. If anyone else wants to come and chat about the MAC, we'll be there.
Anyone else? I think we've almost gone through everyone. Go ahead.
Just a quick update on Russian River Pride. Our next fundraiser, and you remember last year, we actually distributed $35,000 to 5 different organizations. So our next fundraiser is on August 24th. It's the Oktoberfest Beer Bust at Timberline Restaurant in Guerneville. It'll be fun. Pride.
What time is that on the 24th?
I don't know.
Dang it. It's in the evening, I assume.
Yeah.
Will you send us?
Yeah.
Yeah, I will. I'll send it to you. Oh, 4 p.m.
Oh,
4 p.m. probably until the keg runs out or something. And then just to remind you, the Pride parade, and there will be events all during Pride week. We're having a prom on Friday night, just in case anybody missed their prom. And there's other events. It's all on the webpage. But the parade itself is on September 21st with a nod to, I'm very sorry that we didn't think about the Russian River cleanup. But we're hoping you guys will be like coming up from the beach to join the parade. Right, so it's at noon. The parade is at noon, and I know the cleanup is earlier in the morning. So
and Forgotten Felines is going to be in the parade.
Yay. Yay. Anybody else wants to be in the parade, I'm sure we can arrange it. Also vendors.
That date was September 21st.
September 21st is parade day.
Thank you.
Wow. Anyone else? Okay, now we're gonna move to you all. Does anyone have a comment on something that is not on the agenda? And we're gonna go to the live people here and then we'll check on Zoom. Oh. Yeah, and we do, just so you know, we do have an owl up here, so you do need to step up and go to the podium, and then everyone can hear you and we can see you online.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Marco Suarez. I'm with the Sonoma County Economic Development Board. I'm the Business Diversity Program Manager. Been there for almost 10 years. And just wanted to come and introduce myself and let you know of the work that we do out here in the Lower Russian River, doing outreach to the small businesses out here. I know Tracy made the comment earlier that, oh yeah, I met you during the floods. So we help businesses with anything from startups to marketing and whatnot, research, and including right now, we have the Russian River Chamber of Commerce mixer that I'm going to right now. But I just wanted to come and introduce myself and let you know that we're out here doing work with the Lower Russian River businesses, including Forestville and all the areas here. Lower Russian River is one of our areas. We cover all Sonoma County, but definitely is one of our and my areas here. So pleasure, and we'll be coming here to the MAC meetings.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. And now someone else have their hand up.
I did.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Lambert, and I am a retired school board member. I was on there with Kathy years ago, with Guerneville School, Elementary School. I was on that board for 23 years. So I'm talking about the unification study that SCO has started. So Sonoma County Office of Education has paid to have a unification study done by Christy White Incorporated. The financial feasibility study has been done. In that study, there were 3 scenarios. Number 1 was full unification of all 11 school districts. Number 2 was split Sonoma County High School into 2 school districts with elementary feeder schools. And number 3 was create 1 unified high school district and 1 unionized elementary district. Forestville Elementary had asked for the scenario 2 to be studied, which is the unification of the 2 separate districts. The second part of the study will be released this month. I've been working for the past 2 years on the unification of El Molino High School and its 7 West County elementary schools: Fort Ross, Salmon Creek, Monterey, Montgomery, which is Cazadero, Guerneville, Forestville, and Oak Grove school districts. I believe our West County students will be better served by creating a new district on the El Molino campus and separate from Anley High School. Next month, I'll come back with hopefully some new information and updates. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, come on.
Hello, my name is Brian Borchers. I own Russian River Cycle Service in Forestville and am part of the organization that Lon referred to, Bicycle Friendly Forestville. I've made my life built around bicycles. I've worked professionally within the industry for over 35 years. This is what I do. My goal in everything is to basically make it safer for people to ride bikes in our county. We don't want to be on the roads with all the other cars, and the other cars don't particularly want us there either. I have spoken to people countless times that have walked into my shop and they're like, oh, I used to love riding bikes, but it's just too dangerous. I freaking hate hearing that. It's not too dangerous to ride a bike. It's too dangerous because of the cars. So often as county plans go, the planners aren't cyclists that are making the plans. And we're sort of an afterthought that just shoehorns us onto the margins of the roads that all the cars are on. One of the main plans that we have, that I've seen anyways, is adding a bike lane down Mirabel Road. That's fine for an avid cyclist, but a mom that's trying to take her 4 kids out for a bike ride going down that road with all of the driveways that they have to cross, it's a very dangerous option. Anytime that you deal with an intersection, it's more dangerous than no intersection, if you will. So my hope and my goal is to get people off of Highway 116 and off of River Road and onto little byways. And the ways that I am shooting for this is, or that our organization is going after it, is what the easiest and lowest hanging fruit is wayfinding signs, which are basically signs with a little bicycle icon and an arrow pointing them off of Highway 116 as they're approaching Mom's Apple Pie Village. There's no reason a bicyclist should be on that road, but regularly, just this last week, I had a doctor visiting from India that rode his bike down that chute because he didn't know, this is the first time he's ever been here. And he just, in my opinion, rode one of the most dangerous places I've ever seen on a bike. The other place that I'm specifically passionate about is just this side of Hacienda Bridge near the market. There's no reason the cyclists should be there. There's a perfectly good Old River Road that would divert them away from that. But there's no sign that says that there's a way around. So we have people regularly going through there. So my hope is that through wayfinding signs, adding small sections of path that would connect dead end roads, if you will. So these are the signs are the easiest one and the lowest hanging fruit for being able to get some help. Adding bike paths is more complicated, and I know that that's not an easy thing to do, but it's going to take time. And if I don't chip away at it a little bit every year, nothing will ever happen. The other thing, the third position, is roads that are, I would call through roads that have been illegally closed by landowners. And the best example of one that I can give you that's in the process of seeing that happen is Old Monterey Road. So when you go west of Old Monterey Road on am I out of my time?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, cool. Can I leave cards for people if they have questions? Cool. Yeah. All right. So here's a pile of stickers and business cards, please. So I hope that you guys will support my.
Thank you. I think what you're doing is awesome.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Yep.
Good evening. My name is Jim O'Donnell and I'm a resident of Forestville. I'm speaking today in opposition to the asphalt plant proposed to be built in Forestville. An industrial building such as the planned asphalt plant is inappropriate for Forestville. According to the plan submitted by Canyon Rock, its 3 asphalt silos and conveyor apparatus will stand almost 74 feet tall and will require additional tanks to store asphalt, cement, and liquefied natural gas. A recent truck count exceeded 700 truck trips per day from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. This equates to about 1 truck per minute going through Forestville during that time period. Truck traffic will increase with deliveries of used asphalt to the plant for recycling and added trips with trucks hauling asphalt in addition to the gravel trucks. The asphalt plant and the trucks hauling asphalt will emit noxious odors through our town, and the delivery of liquefied natural gas and asphalt cement will expose our residents to hazardous materials. Due to the potential impact on the health, safety, and well-being of the residents of the Lower Russian River from increased truck traffic, noise, and noxious emissions, I request that the Lower Russian River MAC hold a meeting in Forestville prior to the release of the asphalt plant EIR to explore the potential impacts of the asphalt plant at Canyon Rock Quarry. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Hi, I'm Emily Chardon. I am the advocacy coordinator for the Sonoma County Bicycle Coalition, and here to support the work of Bike Friendly Forestville. We're really glad that this group has come together in this area and is advocating for safer streets. And we hope that you will put them on a future agenda and hear more about the work that they're doing. Just a couple of kind of related points or related things I wanted to bring up. Brian and Bike Friendly Forestville have been working on or have been involved in the update of the active transportation plan, which I'm sure many of you know is happening right now. It's a countywide project. Consultants are coming back with a first draft of a plan in the coming months. There's all kinds of opportunity for public comment. I think as Brian pointed out, the consultants don't always know what the issues are. They don't always ride bikes. So it is important, I think, for folks to talk about these things, to talk about solutions, to talk about the issues in the community so that they can be included in this plan, which is going to set the stage for bike facility improvements for many years. And the other thing that I wanted to mention that's just, I think, relevant here is we were really happy to see that in this latest budget cycle, the Board of Supervisors did approve a position, a countywide position to kind of be responsible for active transportation issues. So this is going to be a new position. I don't think they've hired anybody yet, but when that person comes in, they will be supporting the efforts within the unincorporated areas of the county to build better bike and pedestrian connections. So thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Come on up.
Through the chair, just a reminder to speak slowly for the interpreters.
Hi, my name is Nick Thayer. I live in Rio Nito, and I just wanted to bring up the issue of safety on Rio Nito Road between Rio Nito and Armstrong Woods Road, the really windy, hilly part. It would be great if the county could put 2 or 3 of those bubble mirrors up there. That would improve safety drastically at a pretty low cost. So you can see headlights coming around the bends or whatever. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you. Anyone else? What about on Zoom?
If you are attending virtually and would like to make a public comment on items not on tonight's agenda, please raise your hand. There are no hands.
Okay. All right, we're going to move on to county updates. There's not a lot here to update, but we do have one thing that we'll talk about.
Yeah, I just wanted to update everyone. At the last meeting, we talked about the application period, the recruiting period for reps that will begin in terms that will begin in January. So we've received 1 application for Guerneville at this point, and we still have another about 3 weeks. So please let folks know and that we're actively recruiting for pretty much all areas. I think Rio Nito doesn't have any openings, but I think every other area has at least.
I think I'm on my first year of the.
But there's an alternate seat open.
Okay.
So every area has at least something open for at least for application. There are some representatives that are incumbents that are willing to come back, but applications are open for almost every area. So please let people know.
Okay, we're going to move on to item 8, which is public access, safety, and stewardship along the Lower Russian River. And we have a panel here of quite a few people. We have Russian River keepers, we have park planning manager, we have regional parks here. So
first will be Don McIntyre from
Mm-hmm.
Russian River Keeper.
Don?
Good evening and thank you.
Can I just do one point? We are going to go through all of the speakers and then we will take questions after everyone is done speaking.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening. My name is Don McIntyre and I work with Russian River Keeper. And I'm here tonight to talk about public access, both sides of the equation. I'll start out by saying I grew up on the river, spending my summers on Fitch Mountain, where the Del Rio Woods Recreation District and the Summer Dam was located. And back in the 60s and 70s, that area and the Russian River was ground zero for the public access fights to allow public easements on rivers. And at the time, my mom was notorious for battling the district because they never publicized their meetings like you do. So there wasn't much public participation, but the board believed that then Trowbridge Canoes, who would sometimes run 300 to 400 canoes down a 5-mile section of river, that they shouldn't be allowed to land on their beach, and that they shouldn't be allowed to portage over their dam, which was district property, and they thought it was private property. And that led to one of the major public decisions regarding public access, or one of the major court decisions, Hitching versus Del Rio Woods. And what it did was it found that the argument was because the river used to run dry 100 years ago or more, back when statehood was gained, that it was not navigable then, and therefore there was no public access. The courts actually held that no, in fact, when you read the California Constitution and other case law, and in California, if it's navigable in fact, meaning if I can get in a boat and go down a section of stream, then it is by law navigable. And the court held that and said even if the river wasn't flowing because of the improvements, the Eel River diversion, like Mendocino, that it is now, and it's now navigable, and therefore public access is allowed. And the reason navigability is so important is that is a key element in the public trust doctrine. That's a body of law that dates back to Roman times. And essentially, even back when the emperor owned everything you could see, the people of all the different countries that Rome conquered and Rome, and Rome itself, were allowed to go to the rivers, go to the ocean, and fish. And so navigability and that law was carried forward into English common law, that was carried forward into the California Constitution, and actually made more strong through the Constitution. And essentially, when you have a navigable stream, what the courts have held in various decisions like Troutwine Family Estate versus County of Nevada is that people have the right to land on the beaches and go fishing, and later decisions have held that those rights are go along to picnicking, sunbathing, swimming, you name it. It isn't the entire beach area, and this is where the laws get squishy. It is up to the ordinary high water mark, and that is not easy to determine. I've actually been involved in a number of state lands commission delineations, and it's a pretty complex process, and it can result in 30, 40, 50 page decisions. But essentially when I think of mainly the lower river, when you think of the dominant river flows through the winter months, during the rain season, generally it's somewhere around 3,000 to 3,500 cubic feet per second. And so what I like to tell people in the public is you need to be conservative, in my opinion. And, you can't go to the very high side of the beach where often the shade is. You need to stick closer to the water. It's usually going to be somewhere around 10 vertical feet from the summer water surface is the public easement area. That said, the public's rights do not include the right to trespass across private property to get to the river. Those access rights are incumbent upon members of the public getting to the river via legal public access, like our county river parks and places like that. And at the same time, once there's public access, that cannot be withdrawn per state and federal law. And that was recently tested in the courts in a case at Martins Beach down in San Mateo County, where a billionaire bought a small community on the coast. And the road to Martins Beach was used by surfers to access the coast. And the billionaire lost the case. And the courts held that, no, you have to make that road available as it was before you bought the property. The right of public access does not take people's land away. It is still someone's property. The public has a right to use it. And this is where things kind of get really contentious. I more than anyone, we pick up over 200, 300,000 pounds of trash from the river every year. The right to access a beach doesn't mean you can do anything you can't do in this library, out in the parking lot, in the road, on the courthouse steps. With rights and privileges come responsibilities. And that's where, you know, a lot of people want to privatize the beaches. Because there are members, we've all been to the river, you're all very familiar with the river. There are people who go to the river and leave their trash, leave themselves on people's property. And just like that's not okay to do in downtown Guerneville or anywhere else, we have laws against that. It's really not okay to do on someone's property. Unfortunately, you know, there are people who behave badly, and just like, unfortunately, we all have the privilege to drive for the most part. But one drunk driver doesn't revoke the privileges for the entire community. So, you know, unfortunately, we have bad actors, but that is never going to overcome the rights of the public to access the river. So, you know, we absolutely understand where property owners are coming from. And that's something that I think we still have some work to do to try and figure out how to enlist better behavior from the public. And, you know, I've got to say, I've just got to add that, you know, we cover the whole watershed, and, you know, this issue's been in the paper because of some of the properties on the lower river. But right now, the most abused area is actually up in Alexander Valley in Geyserville. On the July 4th weekend, something like 36 vehicles drove, cut locks to vineyard gates, drove through people's property. Actually, one gentleman near the river in Geyserville, 2 trucks drove right through his vegetable garden. That was the only way they could get to the river, and then went to the river. A lot of them camped out for multiple days, numerous large bonfires, which is a great concern to folks up there who've experienced numerous fires, and most recently the Point Fire. So clearly, you know, and just 2 weekends ago, one of our staff was up there in Geyserville coming back towards the lower river from some work they were doing in Cloverdale, and stopped at the Geyserville Bridge. There's 8 cars on the river, and called the sheriff. The sheriff went and talked to him and didn't do anything. There's 3 laws they could have cited him under. So there's a need to engage the sheriff department. That's underway. I'm working with some of the folks up in Alexander Valley to do that. Bringing it back to the lower Russian River in this region, we're really hopeful that this conversation and the conversations in the media really lead to solutions to these bad behavior issues. For a time, I served on the Sonoma County Fish and Wildlife Commission. We take fish and game fine money and we deploy it to protect fish and wildlife. And one of the things we did when I was on the board was we bought 2 motorized kayaks and a trailer for the sheriff's department for their Marine Patrol unit. And literally the next year they disbanded it because of budget cuts. I think this was around 2008. So we used to have a law enforcement presence on the river. That definitely, as you all know, if the CHP doesn't ticket people who are going fast, no one's gonna drive within the speed limit. So there is a need to create a greater deterrent effect. And one thing that's in our strategic plan that we're planning to build, hopefully, and have ready next summer is an outreach program that we would operate on weekends. It's modeled after a program on the Yuba River, where they have the exact same problems, except it's public land. It's U.S. Forest Service land. They have a river ambassador program where they have people go out, usually an older person like myself, paired with some high school students. And their job is to go down the river and engage people on the beaches, ask them if they have a trash bag, you know, answer questions about the river, but really try and enlist that good behavior. So one of our goals is to get a program like that up and running, so that especially in the areas between the parks that you can't get to generally by foot, you can only get to it by boat, we can address those people and try and assist the homeowners. And when we see garbage on people's beaches, get it cleaned up, get it out of there, and reduce that friction between public access and people's wanting their property respected and not trashed. So this is a multifaceted issue, and we're definitely committed to both preserving access and also helping these property owners who are somewhat under siege from people who are come to the river and think it's a free-for-all. It's the Wild West and rules don't apply. Same rules apply there as it does everywhere else, and we just need to help the public understand that. So I'll stop there and let the speakers jump in.
All right, thank you. Next we have Sasha and David from Regional Parks. Oh, you didn't put on that.
The light will come on, just about a minute.
Just enough time for me to talk.
Oh.
All right, good evening, everybody. Chair, Lower Russian River, members, committee members. David Robinson, the park manager for Sonoma County Regional Parks. I oversee the operations, the maintenance, and the marinas, which doesn't have anything to do with the Lower Mac right now, which is a good thing. But yeah, I'd just like to first off thank Don and the Riverkeeper for all their hard work along the river. It's been pretty amazing to work with them over the last 20 years since I've been a member of Regional Parks. There'll be a presentation after me with Sasha. But,
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you can keep looking at me or you can look at that either way. But yeah, just a huge thanks to the programs that they provide, the contracts that they negotiate, and literally the tonnage of waste and trash that they go out on a daily basis and take out of the river to make it both accessible, clean, and both safe as well for everybody out there. I started this job 2018, and already at that point in my career with parks, we'd seen an incremental, increase in the use on the river. I mean, we've all seen that if you've been around since 2000. I mean, just more people from the county, more people from outside the county. And it really hit kind of ahead 2018, 2019, where tour buses got really into the mix. They were showing up in people's neighborhoods. They were dropping people off. They didn't have restrooms. They didn't have trash receptacles. And then the pandemic hit, and parks became the only game in town, right? So everybody was coming and enjoying the parks, and some were doing so responsibly, some were not. And I just want to kind of highlight what we've done as a park system over the last 5 years in response to that visitorship, which we do want people to come visit the river. We want them to come visit the parks, but also we want them to do so responsibly. And I know my colleagues will speak to some of these topics later, but since 2020, I mean, you probably remember we had park closures. That didn't help. We had electric signs, kind of helped. But really what we did is we focused on increasing the signage for people to understand where to go. We have drive-through drop-off areas within our parks now, so people can drop off their kayaks, their coolers, all that kind of stuff, and not congest either River Road or the neighborhoods. We've increased trash services. We've educated on trash services. We've added recycling. We'll talk more about the Leave No Trace program that we've implemented. We've increased staff. We've really implemented more and more seasonal staff to come help out, both educate and to pick up trash as well. We've done Facebook posts, social media boosts. We've done outreach education campaigns. We've increased the portable toilets out there at different parks and facilities. We've thinned vegetation to offer better access. We've added additional trash receptacles. We've even hired services to come through the neighborhoods on the weekends to help out with the trash that's coming because of those parks. We've done Twitter updates. You've seen we've done alcohol bans now. So we ban alcohol during Memorial Day through Labor Day. Granted, that's a difficult one. We still need to do some more work on that. And then we've banned commercial charter services on the weekends in those parks so that they're not doing that. That's not to say they're not still showing up, but we'll also get into some other topics with our shuttle system and how we've accommodated those commercial shuttles with our own shuttle system. And Sasha will get into the nuts and bolts on that one. One of the big ones that we've done over the years is the Russian River Patrol, which is at least two of our lifeguards and some of our operations staff that go proactively from beach to beach. They provide life-saving rescues, but they also do preventative contacts. So they'll tell people the rules on the beach. You can't have a barbecue out here because your clothes are going to get on the ground and you're going to burn your feet. But they're not enforcement of that, right? So what they can do is educate, and then they let the appropriate authority know what's going on if the people don't listen to that request. They provide the life-saving rescues. Since 2012, we've had a huge decrease in actual drownings on the Russian River within those park areas. And with that, we've started the life jacket loaner program, which you've probably seen as well. So they fit life jackets on folks, and we provide those life jackets so that people can fit them on themselves as they need them. We've seen a huge, anecdotally, I was up in Lake Tahoe and I actually saw a Sonoma County life jacket on somebody up there. And I was like, that's fantastic, great. You used it. Good for you. You know, one of my colleagues said, didn't you get it back? I'm like, no, that's what it's for. So we're fine with that. That's a great use of that. We've also, through that program, prior to that program, created a Vamos a Nadar program, which is a Learn to Swim program, bilingual Spanish speaking, where we're educating folks and then telling them where they can go get these life jackets. We're really trying to be preventative and proactive on those issues on the river. And then, you know, I'll just hit the last one that we're very, very proud of is our Russian River Shuttle. We saw all these issues that I've mentioned coming up, and one of those, many of those issues had to do with congestion, trash, portable toilets or toilet usage, and then our climate act, you know, just the effect that all those cars have on our climate. When you have to take 2 cars through a river float versus 1 car with a shuttle, like all of a sudden you have that congestion, you have the GHG emissions. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to our operations specialist, Sasha Reschmeyer, who's going to talk about the Russian River Shuttle.
Well, thank you, David. Never used one of these before. Okay. We present. So, hi everyone. As David said, I'm Sasha. I'm the operations specialist for Sonoma County Regional Parks. I get to manage a bunch of really cool projects. And I think the Russian River Shuttle is easily one of my favorite projects and something that I'm really passionate about because, like David has said, you know, it reduces traffic on River Road. It makes accessing our public beaches safer, alleviates neighborhood parking impacts, the commercial buses you heard about. And for me, I'm really passionate about making sure, you know, we're reducing greenhouse gases. So having this is something that I'm really proud of regional parks for and really proud to be a part of. The shuttle started back in 2021. We did a request for proposal and contracted with Code 3 Transportation. And so we started in July, kind of in the middle of the summer in 2021, running 2 buses from Tom Shofflin to Steelhead and Sunset. We charged $5 per rider, and that went through Labor Day. And then in 2022, we did a full season, and we didn't see, like, we had some riders the first year, but ridership was a little bit down. So we tried to incentivize it a bit more by making it free for kids under 18. We really tried to keep it affordable for people and offer an incentive for youth to ride the shuttle. And then in 2023, ridership skyrocketed a little bit, or it got a little bit bigger because we moved from Tom Shofflin to El Molino, and having a closer distance to the 2 parks really helped. So it really got our ridership numbers up, and we added a 3rd bus on Saturdays. And then now in 2024, it's been pretty consistent with 2023. We did try to help alleviate some of the single-use plastics by having another contract with R2T2 tube rentals. So they're renting tubes at Steelhead, and people are able to float down to Sunset and check their tube back in, which I think has helped a lot. We've also added a smart connect, so you can take the smart train from the airport over to Steelhead Beach, and then you can, you know, float down, get on the river shuttle and go back home. And so here's some of our ridership numbers from each year. As you can see, like I was saying, in 2021, we had a little over 1,000 people. And then when we did the full season in 2022,
that number doubled. And then, yeah, we did see a jump when we moved up to El Molino. That number went from 2,000 to 6,000. And now today, 2024, we're at about 7,000 people, and that's up till this weekend. So we still have some weekends to go, but we've really seen that peak ridership happens in July, really around the 4th, and the weekends directly after the 4th. So here you can see kind of our ridership from the past 2 years when we've been at El Molino May, we only really have Memorial Day weekend, so it's kind of low there. And then in June, it goes up a bit. And then you can see the blue is July, or the blue is 2023. And you can see in July that the ridership went up. I really think that people discover us during the 4th of July weekend. And so, yeah, then it kind of comes down again in August. So we really hit most of the visitation for the year. And then we just have a little bit again in September. So yeah, it's ridership is up. We're really excited about that. But it's now we're looking at, what can we do next? Our contract with C3 is up at the end of the year. So we did a 3-year contract with them, extended it for a year. And now we'll be going back and doing another request for proposal. And hopefully we may find that we're able to contract a different company now that we have really good data showing, what our ridership is like. So we're excited to see, what people bring to us, but we'd love to expand to more parks, have more stops along the Russian River with our existing shuttle, and then also getting people maybe out of the area to some of our other parks that are lesser used. So we're talking about kind of brainstorming about what other shuttles we could have across the county. So yeah, and then yeah, I guess we're doing questions at the end. Yeah. So cool. Thank you guys.
Thank you. All right. Sorry. Now we have Steve from planning manager from park planning manager.
We're going to have Sarah Phelps, marketing specialist, and then I will go next.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just going to talk a little bit about Leave No Trace before Steve will wrap it up. All right, let me share my screen with you all. Masha, can you pull yours down? Apologies. Presentation of be next thing.
I think if you just go to slideshow.
Right there. Press there. I just couldn't get that far down. So sorry about that. Apologies. Okay. Leave No Trace. I'm Sarah Phelps. I work in the communications department, not IT at Regional Parks. So apologies for that. And I'm here to talk to you all about our Leave No Trace initiative, which is a newer partnership for us, but it's been what I think is a very successful partnership, focusing on low impact recreation and public messaging around that in parks. So just as a way of background for those of you not familiar, Leave No Trace is a set of guiding principles to promote low impact recreation in the outdoors. These principles were developed by land managers such as the National Park Service. People are kind of familiar with seeing those signs in those parks in the late 1980s. And now Leave No Trace is actually a national nonprofit that's dedicated to promoting or to teaching people and promoting this education about how to recreate responsibly. In the most basic form, there's a lot of detail under all of these bullets, but they're plan ahead and prepare, travel and camp on durable surfaces, dispose of waste properly, leave what you find, minimize campfire impacts, and so on. In 2021, Regional Parks, we partnered with Sonoma County Tourism and Leave No Trace to enhance our conservation efforts and promote responsible outdoor recreation. So the goals for this partnership with Tourism and Leave No Trace were basically to reduce human impact on parks, educate visitors about low impact recreation, preserve our county's natural resources. And as part of this partnership, we've developed a 5-year stewardship action framework that we're in the process of executing. I do want to note that this is an unusual partnership because we have a land manager and tourism partners working together at the same table. This really allows us to extend the Leave No Trace messaging beyond the park boundaries, so it's very effective that way. And it's actually a model that's been sort of held up by Leave No Trace to try and emulate by other folks around the country. So to date, some of the things that we've done in that time, we have installed Leave No Trace signage. We focused and started on river parks and coastal parks specifically, knowing that those use patterns, especially in the summertime, were high. We recently included river beach identification signs with information about access to restroom and trash facilities, and you can kind of see that, sorry, it's cut off a little bit at the bottom. And we've developed Sonoma County specific Leave No Trace principles with a focus on explaining the why behind the directives that we're asking people to do, which is a little bit new for park regulatory signage, but it helps enforce behavior change a little bit better. We also have we've conducted a series of visitor surveys, listening sessions. We've created that free partner toolkit that has resources with posters, flyers, window clings, things like that. They are it's a free toolkit. You can download it from Sonoma County Tourism's website, request the physical assets, but it's effective for land manager partners, but also very useful and the type of things maybe hospitality partners might need. One of the things out of this partnership that we really saw as an opportunity was to reach people before they arrived at a park. So the hospitality partners have been really effective with that. But I'm not here to speak about all the things that tourism has done. I'm focused just on what Parks is doing. But they would be a great option to have maybe in the future to talk about their greater plan with this. Let's see. The next one we have also done, as David said, social media campaigns. Social media and media campaigns, press, outreach, radio, print, advertising as well. We run that pretty heavily in the busy summer season as well. We have incorporated Leave No Trace messaging into our campground reservation confirmations. So reaching people again before they arrive with reminders. And we've expanded our website resources. That includes like blog content and weaving that Leave No Trace language into most of our recreation resources. And then we have also done creative videos for each principle that we've used to public facing, but also to conduct Leave No Trace trainings for park staff, partners. We host volunteer events. We had a very successful Leave No Trace supported hotspot a few years ago at Steelhead in 2022. It was kayak based, which was one of the first ones I think we've done. And it was so popular that we've sort of emulated that every year through our community engagement folks. They run that for us. And we also have a series of Leave No Trace certification workshops for the public and some seasonal Leave No Trace information and an exhibit at our Environmental Discovery Center, which is over at Spring Lake. Where we're going. So coming up, we're kind of in the middle of this multi-year partnership. We're continuing to improve on what we've done in the past, but really doing a lot of the similar things with advertising campaigns, radio, digital ads, social media outreach, expanding our web content, and then also rolling out more signage across all of our parks, not just coastal and river, other places as well. Continue our volunteer and community engagement. And we've also become part of a coastal leave no trace effort called Cleaner California Coast, which is a partnership with Leave No Trace, but Mendocino, Sonoma, and Marin counties all partnering in that coastal area. And that's it. Those are the URLs if you guys wanted to learn more. That's where you could go, sonomacounty.com/partners. That's the tourism toolkit URL, and then our resources as well. All right, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Steve Aird, Park Planning Manager at Sonoma County Regional Parks. Pleased to be here. I oversee the development, the acquisition, the planning of our new parks and Class 1 bikeways, which I'll explain a little bit. I'm going to first start off with a little bit more on the destination stewardship topic, and then move into a bit about the bikeways and bike trails, which are a part of that as well, because of all the complex of use in getting to our parks. One of the genesis of Steelhead, some of you long-timers may remember.
Can you bring the mic up a little bit? Interpreters can't hear you.
Do you have a button I can push to it?
No.
That's it. It's not the board channel. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right, thank you. One of the interesting pieces of Steelhead's history is in 1996, there was the Russian River Trespass and Access Management Plan, which our Parks Department did. It was funded by the Coastal Conservancy. It looked all the way up to Lake Mendocino, and it looked at the existing use patterns. And because there's just unmanaged access everywhere at all the usual hotspots, some of which are still the hotspots today. And ag was upset, agricultural landowners were upset because of the trespass patterns, communities were impacted, trash was a problem then. And this led to a whole plan of river access points. Steelhead was one of those points. A few years later, we acquired it, or actually it's owned by the state, we just manage it. And we developed it, I think we opened in 98 or so, 99, somewhere in there. It took about 4 years before our portable bathrooms stopped getting burned down. It's just kids. The moral is we come into places where there's a lot of impact when the community is ripe and ready for our management, and we try to solve problems. And it takes a while to get a handle. And so when the problems get most difficult, that's often we get invited in. Dawn did a great job describing the situation up in North County, and Geyserville was on that list in the 90s. And just like Asty, we're working on a number of new river parks up there to try to alleviate issues up there as we are down here. A couple specific things on Steelhead specifically. We are working on a kiosk and ADA upgrades. We also developed site hosts, spots that allow us to have a presence. Think of a camp host, but without the campers. And so there's on-site presence. We have two sites. I don't know if we have both of them occupied right now or not. We have just one, but that's to have some redundancy backup. We have also developed some overflow parking over the years to try to further alleviate that. There's a lot of background projects that may not be obvious that we are always working on to try to make the community better. We have a team inside Parks that works across divisions, and you're seeing some of them tonight, where we brainstorm because your problems are our problems and we're part of the community. So I'm gonna pivot a touch into some of the bikeway issues. So our department, Sonoma County Regional Parks, is responsible for what we call Class 1 bikeways. Those are multiple use, pedestrian, bicycle, and equestrian, and they're separated from the road. And our Sonoma County Public Infrastructure Department is responsible for Class 2 and Class 3. Those are the road shoulders. Sometimes they have signs, sometimes they don't, sometimes they have stripes. And then we also have a new thing called a Class 4, which I don't think we have any county examples, but we do have a couple in a couple of the cities where you have bidirectional bike with a protected route on one side, but it's not totally separate from the road. So the reason why our department runs the Class 1 program is because they're recreational as well as their commute. And this is like the West County Trail, with most of you are probably familiar with, that we work to extend to 116. And we're very passionate about it. We have a lot of bike riders in regional parks, including the Plain Division, and something we deeply believe, because with the road shoulder, as one of our speakers pointed out earlier, most of our community does not feel safe, and they aren't. With the separated ones, they cost a lot more, they take way more time, maybe acquisition, huge headache, but everyone feels safe. So strollers, all types of users, disabled, you name it, they're for everybody. So they're worth the effort, but we can't do them everywhere. We can only do them, think of it like our highway system, like 101. You just want the areas, the main points of connection, that you try to find the best way. So locally here, we are working with our public infrastructure department actively and on extending the Class 1 separated trail all the way to Davis and Greasty, right past the youth park. So that will be fully separated. And there's also wider Class 2 shoulders going in through there too. Beyond there, it will be Class 2, so much more widened shoulders. And I really need to thank Supervisor Hopkins for being the spark plug behind kind of the recent effort in this. So you might recall there was a Forestville focus study, there was community outreach, looking at Covey and Davis and the cross connectors and trying to figure out how to knit all this stuff together. There was a conceptual plan that came out of it, including crosswalks and all sorts of stuff. This is the genesis. So it did have a more elaborate combination down between Davis towards Spears and Maribel. But because it requires many, many retaining walls and acquisition, that's a future phase. So you're going to see a big improvement all the way down there. It's probably not going to be built, I think, until 2027. But most of the money is there. The engineering work is ongoing. We're reaching out to individual landowners that are impacted. So that's a big one. A different project is what we call the Lower Russian River Trail. And
yeah.
I have a very truncated position. What do I need? You want to help me?
I think Sarah is still sharing her screen.
Well, this is Sarah's
computer. Okay.
I thought I was doing presentation.
There we go.
Thank you so much, Tracy. So this was a big planning outreach grant we did and completed in 2020. This is just the cover. We had Sonoma County Bike Coalition contributions, Santa Rosa Cycling contributions. Caltrans was the main funder. The Air Quality District. Once again, thank you, Supervisor Hopkins, and your role on the Air Quality Control Board for the funding there. So what this study did is it looked at everything between Maribel and Highway 1. And it looked at all little side streets, looked at the highways, looked at all the constraints. It had quite a bit of community input. Let's see how this wants to respond. So, as you know, it is extraordinarily constrained. And, but there are plenty of opportunities like the aforementioned dead end streets that appear here and there, like Old River Road, for example, or Old Monterey Road. What this graphic here is showing is a couple situations. One is where there's a bit more room. We prefer the, you can see the bike trail on the far right, and you can see the road. So this is the top cross section is very similar to what you see over by Andy's Market on 116 in the Graydon area, where we have a vegetated swale separating the two, and you see a lot of people using that every single day. Down below, you see we have a barrier, and it looks like we have a K-rail illustrated because it's much more constrained. And we do like a minimum of 8 feet. We prefer even a little bit of shoulders for equestrians, not that we expect too many in these parks, but joggers often like non-asphalt. But we're really going for the safety. So that's what we're up to. Quick overview of the outreach during it. You can see Forestville had over 300 something respondents, Guerneville 400, and so on. You know, broad outreach, work with all the schools and so on. The whole lower river was chopped up into different sections, and I just clipped the kind of the Forestville one showing the route. So the essentially, we have a request for proposal developed, and we're just trying to find the funding for it. And Supervisor Hopkins is helping us find this money so we can begin the engineering with our public infrastructure department. So this will be from Maribel and River Road, where there's a planned roundabout. And then it continues down on the Steelhead side before it crosses back over. We're looking at crosswalks, although they're very tricky to do in this area. We want to make use of the old parallel road. And probably we would end the segment around scenic. So we typically build these trails in segments because of funding and just the amount of work they take. There is a quick shot of the roundabout that came out of our plan that public infrastructure is pursuing. The other option was a controlled intersection. And our project manager for the Lower Russian River Trail is Mr. Ken Tam. There's his email. I am not Ken, but Ken is happy to take your questions. I'll make sure he knows they're coming. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, all of you. So now we'll go to council first with questions or comments. I have a couple. Do you mind?
No, go ahead.
And these are somewhat related, and it's about coordinating with groups outside your own. And it's good to hear that you guys are working with the tourism board, because it's different people. On the shuttle itself, I think this year, you guys can agree or disagree, we've seen more traffic and more cars on the side of the road than I've ever experienced since I've been here. And it's not just from where you have the shuttle now. It is from Forestville to Monterey, basically. And I did talk to Shay about this a little bit of, can these shuttles be extended to, you know, stop at where you're stopping now, but then stop in Rio Neato. There's a beach there that's run by Russian River Record Park. And then in Guerneville, where people are going to the beach there, and in
Hacienda, where there's a county park.
And how exactly. So there's a bunch of different regions. There's parks that are not your parks, right? But there are other groups that have parks that people go to. And that road is getting more and more congested. So I would encourage you to think about working with other groups to extend that shuttle, because I think it's fantastic that it's happening, but you're only doing this much of the Lower Russian River, and the Lower Russian River is this long, and most of the traffic actually is between Forestville and Monterey, not between 101 and Forestville, where the shuttle basically picks up people from. So that's something to think about. The other thing is, I really like the Leave No Trace idea, but we also had another county funded campaign that ended up with this Respect Russian River thing. So I feel like there's two competing things trying to do the same thing. as a resident here, I've heard nothing about Leave No Trace or seen it, right? And I live here. I have seen the other stuff. So why not coordinate between the two and make it one consolidated campaign? Because you're doing the same thing, right? And so now there's a double set of resources trying to do the same thing. Was a marketer before, and it's silly to have two different things trying to do the same thing when you can consolidate resource. You'll reach more people because they're trying to reach a different group of people than you are, right? But if it was the same message that went across both of those things, it would have much more impact, because it's not just the people that visit the parks, it's also the residents, it's also businesses, right, that want to know that something's happening. And so if it was consolidated, at least to me, you'd get more bang for a buck, you'd get more people that actually live here, understand that there's something happening, which is good for everybody, right? Because they'll participate too. So those are it's like these coordination issues with other groups that are doing things to consolidate, make it better for all of us out here, instead of having, it feels like it's very segmented, not doing as good as it can. I'm not saying you're not doing a good job, but what I'm saying is if you consolidate these things that are trying to do the same thing, it seems like it would work better. Mike?
Thank you very much. And thank you very much for the presentations, from all of you. It was really appreciated and enlightening. What I'd like to kind of review is what are you doing to coordinate your specific toolkit with, say, Rush River Parks and Rec and Monoreal Parks and Rec? It looks like you've done a tremendous job, but are you passing this information on to the other recreation districts so they in turn can be utilizing some of the hard work that you guys have really pioneered? Secondly, what about ADA access to some of these parks, especially with some of the limited access? That's a big question, of course, in West County, and it's something that we need to be aware of. And when we have long URLs, sometimes it's a lot easier to use a QR code. Please use QR codes whenever possible on any of your outreach material. It just makes it a lot simpler, and people really understand how QR codes work in this day and age. So that would be most helpful. We were talking about cycling. Are we talking about e-bikes? We haven't addressed that. So that's something that we need to talk about. Lastly, with the shuttle, which I am a firm supporter of, but when we go out for recontracting, perhaps we can coordinate with Sonoma Clean Power and look for a more environmental method of transporting people rather than gasoline or propane powered vehicles. And that concludes my comments. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Anyone else?
I do.
Yes.
Yeah. I have a couple. I want to do the.
I'm sorry. We'll go through comments or questions, and then you guys can address those after they all come out. I'm not cutting you off. Sorry.
Just one quick to the park people. I live near Mother's Beach, Forestville Beach access. And so Steelhead, Mother's Beach, Sunset, the shuttle doesn't stop for us. And it seems a little crazy that we're right in between those two beaches and we have no shuttle service.
Yep.
The other thing, the other questions I have really are around that maybe Dawn can speak to about the public access. So I've read a little bit, done my research on some of the cases. I don't think I've heard this 10-foot from the water line thing before. Is there anything that you can tell me, point me to, reference to that? Just remember that.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I'm interested also in the issue of the statement you made that property rights aren't taken away. So what that sounds to me like is that someone can own a beach, but they have to be able to have the public have access to it. My understanding is that that's not true because of the high water mark. So I just would like a little more clarification about that. I want to deal with safety. because I heard a lot about bikes, but one of the big issues for us in our neighborhood, and I'm sure others, as you mentioned, with all the cars and parking, we've had situations at Mother's Beach where the fire department couldn't get access. I took pictures one day, it was just a random Tuesday at 11:30 in the morning, and I couldn't get my Prius, which is a small car, where people had parked into the street. That's the safety that I think about. I think about my neighbors who who may have an emergency and can't have the fire department get close enough to their home, or they have to trudge with all their equipment down the road. And I think I understand that, you know, we have had more access to the CHP, for example, and I've asked the fire department for their input, but I just think we need to think about safety when it comes to our parks in terms of what access can happen with any emergency vehicle. And we have an underpass situation where if a truck is over 8 feet, it can't get through. So you have to be able to go from one side or the other. And I'm just concerned that that isn't being taken into consideration. It's not just that it's not just the inconvenience of having my gate blocked, and so I can't go to the grocery store. It's the actual, you know, can I get help if I need it, especially with the heat and the fires and everything else. So, the only other thing I wanted to mention is, I don't think anybody's going to be able to probably deal with this tonight, but you know, what about Bohemian Grove? What about Johnson's? What about beaches where it seems like they're private beaches or somebody owns them and they're limiting access to them? What is your position on that? I'd love to hear from Dawn on that as well. That's it.
This is sort of a public safety question too. And you all are obviously doing all sorts of really, really, really fine things. So this is kind of unfair in that I want to strongly suggest that you do yet another. But the thing that I'm wondering if you're thinking about it all is swimming lessons when it comes to public safety. I live in Monte Rio, and I was delighted to hear your wonderful data on drownings dissipating. But as I'm sure you know, every year, 1 or 2 people drown at the Monte Rio beach. Now, I know that's not your beach, okay? But it is nevertheless a beach, and it's an extremely well-used, crowded, etc. beach. So, and I know that the Friends of Monte Rio at their last board meeting, there was a lot of talk and support for giving swimming lessons, finding a way to have swimming lessons, you know, and I don't think that, you know, has come to fruition. But at any rate, if you guys would put that in your back burner or whatever, as well as everything else you do, I would appreciate it.
Anyone else on the council?
Just, I wanted to clarify something that Pip said about congestion. It sort of sounded like we were talking about traffic congestion. It was parking, and this is a safety issue on both sides of River Road, with people blowing up their floaties and walking in the road, which is a 50-mile-an-hour road, over a couple of different weekends. It was insane, and so scary to drive through. I'm worried, and this safety issue is the people who are coming to the river, who are not paying attention to no parking signs, for example. And, you know, regardless of, I mean, the expanded shuttle service is fabulous, but I've never seen this many cars parked on both sides of the river at Sunset and at Steelhead and various other places, all for half a mile up the road. Anyway, just a thought.
Go ahead.
Just a quick comment. I want to thank you guys for all the work you're doing. Obviously it's a big problem with the multi-pronged, you know, hydra head of things to address. I live just behind El Molino, and I drive by and I see the parking lot and I see the people standing in line waiting for the shuttles. And every time I go by there, I'm like, this is great. This is really great to see all these people who are not trying to find a place to park on the river, who are not driving their cars, who are not creating a climate change, you know, exacerbation. So I'm very, very stoked about what y'all are doing. And as a comment, as to the public safety thing about the parking, yes, obviously it's a bad problem, but I'm not sure it's these guys' problem. I think it's a law enforcement problem. Not that it shouldn't be, you know, raised to everybody's consciousness, but that's just my comment on that. I would also like to get some information about how come Bohemian Grove and Johnson's Beach are not required to follow the public access thing.
Anyone else on council?
The only thing I had was that with the URL, sometimes it's helpful if you take a picture, if you don't have coverage and you're trying to QR. I have a problem doing that with my phone. That might be.
Maybe it's user error.
I was gonna say something about boomers, but I'm Gen X, so it could be a Gen X issue. I don't know.
That's fine. Okay, and we'll go to public questions or comments.
Do you want to answer the council question?
Well, if they have some, let's do. How many people are going to have? Let me do a poll. How many people here are going to have questions? One. So what? 1, 2.
We have 3 online.
And so why don't we take those 5 and then just do them all at the end?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
There are 2 minutes.
Yep. And remember, just keep in mind, you each have 2 minutes, and these guys will raise their hand when you have 30 seconds left.
Quick question. I just want to know if the shuttle service is paying for itself, like the finances of the shuttle service. That's all.
Great, thank you. Someone else, oh, yep.
I just wanted to comment on the shuttle. I thought this is not a side effect that I think you were expecting, but I'm actually seeing empirically. Is since you are shuttling now from the beaches kind of farther upstream, I'm farther downstream just ahead of the Grenville Bridge. And every year, usually at least one time a weekend and probably many more, I'm dragging drunks out of you'll drive two down to Johnson's and it just doesn't work. But it seems now that you've got the shuttle there, they're kind of shuttling between the beaches and getting out. And it's before they've had a chance to get the half-gallon of vodka. Literally. And you know, we're actually getting them out of the water and calling ambulance and all that kind of good stuff. So just wanted to congratulate you on that. I think that's really cool. Please continue with the education thing. I know on our beach, which I think is one of those kind of quasi-private things, because the only way you can really get there is either crossing private property, but we get people going through our backyard all the time. Not a good thing. Good thing for education. And nobody has a problem with people pulling up a canoe or a kayak on the beach. It's just kind of, don't go through my backyard and leave your trash in my backyard. Thank you.
There's someone else here. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Hi, this is for parks. First of all, I want to say thank you so much. One of my favorite parks in living here in this county. I wanted to check in with the Leave No Trace. I did do a campground and I did see it when I went online, so it's working really well. I love that. But I wanted to speak specifically to the trash receptacles and kind of the visibility and the placement of those. And also, I'm not a fisher person, but I noticed a while back you all removed a lot of those line, whatever you call them, those special tube things, right? I have a dog, I walk with my dog. I get really concerned about that. I don't know if we're talking about Riverfront Park, but that's where I am most of the time, even though I'm closer here. And a lot of folks, you have that kiosk for the ticket right at the front. There's no trash receptacle there. You have a lot of people getting in the water right there. it would be awesome if you could put something there. People seem to not even know you can go all the way down and there's that whole beautiful redwood grove and everything. But I sit on that bench and I watch your people come in and I see what's going on. So I think if you could think about the strategy of some more receptacles, because I'm frankly one of the people's out there going to others like, hey, that's trash. Please don't throw it in the berry bushes. So please consider if you can get more visibility, a little more signage, and something for all of those lines and hooks that I don't care for. Thank you.
Okay, what about Zoom?
Okay. Mark? Please unmute.
Hello, my name is Rita O'Flynn. And
Rita.
Hi, as I've been a Guerneville resident for over 20 years. And as you may know, I've been performing a restoration plan of my riparian corridor along my property. And I'm excited that you guys are looking into stewardship along the river. I wanted to bring to your attention two properties up from mine, which is owned by a government district. It's an R1 zone property, which means it's residential single unit. And they are running a public beach along this access. I have no problem with public access near my home, but I do have a problem when I have a public access that it's being run without proper zoning, without the proper trash receptacles, without the proper number of lavatories. It just seems to me that we have an opportunity to take stewardship of the Russian River seriously, and we are not doing so by applying readily available ordinances that are set forth by our excuse me, that are set forth by Sonoma County Permit Department. I truly feel that if we are to take stewardship of the Russian River seriously, that we need to look at every and all property owners, including those that are owned by government districts. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita. Just got it in time. About. Who else do we have there?
We have Max.
Max? Hi, Max.
Please unmute.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Excuse me. I'm Mags. I am the president of the Russian River Chamber here, and then also a citizen of the Guerneville area. And I just wanted to reach out and kind of make a couple of comments and questions, maybe. Steve Barrett, thank you for you and all your team and all the efforts that you were making. I wanted to direct a few comments at the MAC, just to let you know, Pip, we have been working to with Sonoma County Tourism and Leave No Trace and Parks as the chamber to bring a consistent message down the Russian River. This is a new project, and it's probably why you haven't heard of it even yet. I've been working with Shay, so you're at D5, to kind of get some consistent messaging across for safety and also advertising for Leave No Trace. And we're just trying to figure out how to make that consistent. So just so you know, that part. We, as the chamber, we're also wondering how we can help move more visitors along the Russian River past the Hacienda Bridge and Expanse shuttle service, and help bring that message across to the other hotels and whatnot, which I think would probably help with the impact that visitors that you would see, because right now it seems to be kind of tunneled to the Forestville area when we could disperse it a little bit further down. What else can I tell you? I love the fact that you guys are working on ADA and bathrooms.
Mags? Can you hear me, Mags?
She's muted. Sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you ran out of time.
Oh, sorry. I talk a lot.
All right. I don't mean to cut you off. You know that. But anyway, I got it. Who else? Adrian?
Good evening, everybody.
Hi.
I'm Adrian Garialdi, and I'm coming to you from Geyserville. I tuned in because obviously you heard from Don that we have a major problem in Geyserville also. So I was really interested to hear what was being presented. And hi, Steve and the Parks team. I'm really happy that the shuttles are making a difference. And also I am part of Russian River Confluence, which is doing the Russian River Respect slogan, and Parks is one of our partners. So we are coordinating there. But I wanted to bring up one of the unintended consequences that we have found from the no drinking at the county parks is that is really what's pushing a lot of people up into private property. And we have also found that most of them are not from this area. So like Don mentioned, Memorial Day was an absolute disaster. And the people now are to the point that they will either drive through, over, cut apart, drill, anything they can to break in, and are destroying private property. And of course, the vineyards really don't like to have a lot of dust spewed all over them from and then also the trash issue. So Riverkeepers crew and us have picked up like 2,000 pounds of trash in the last 4 Mondays. And that's not even counting what's down the river bar. So just a couple of things to think about. The parking is a problem. We have that too, and it is a major safety issue. And unfortunately, CHP, even Memorial Day, was so inundated with calls that the sheriff's officer had texted me and said they can't even get out to deal with the parking because they're not even able to respond to all of the accidents that are happening. So it's a real challenge that we all are trying to work on. And love coordinating with everybody and trying to come up with some solutions.
Great, thank you. Anyone else online? Okay, do you guys remember all of the comments?
Chair, are you okay if all this come up?
Yes, go ahead.
Do you want to bring Vern in?
Oh yeah, and Vern is online, and I know Vicky had some legal questions, and so you can Vern, you can speak up to answer some of those.
Vern County Council?
Yes.
Yeah. Does Vern want to respond to anything first?
Let's let Vern go next.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Hi. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is Vern Ball. I'm a natural resources attorney. Even in this weird format, I can see some familiar faces. I'm with County Council. So hello, everyone, and nice to see people I don't know as well. A couple of questions were raised about the public trust doctrine. I just want to say Don did a very good job. I would quibble with some of the things he said in minor non-material ways. But it's you know, he basically summarized it accurately, especially in the context of the Russian River in which he was talking. The 10-foot issue that was raised, I don't want to mischaracterize what Don said, you know, esteemed colleague, but it's not 10 foot. It's I think what he was trying to say is that is a good sort of proxy for the ordinary high water mark, which is the delimitation normally of the public trust doctrine. So I you know, Don can clarify, but I believe that's what he was trying to say. There was a question about I guess ownership and how ownership relates to the public trust doctrine. The public trust doctrine is normally treated as a kind of easement or servitude that can't be alienated by the government. It's an easement or servitude that goes towards the use of public resources, public waters, whether it be for navigation or fishing or use. It has a lot of applications in environmental law in terms of the inability to overuse water that will have negative impacts on fish, but it also has impacts on the use just of the water itself and getting to the stream or river, or as Don mentioned, it can often be applicable to the beaches and the oceans. There were a couple questions too, I think, on other sites. So the public trust doctrine can be very technical, and I'm not going to opine on all sites that were mentioned. There are exceptions to the public trust doctrine, and I don't know how they apply on those given circumstances. Johnson's Beach, I do know, is not subject to those exceptions. And there has been some regulatory discussion with people in the area of Johnson's Beach about this. As an overview for that, what I would say is the public trust doctrine is generally administered, the public trust servitude is administered by the state through the State Lands Commission. And the State Lands Commission essentially is in charge of saying, you're intruding on areas that we have rights to, you need our permission to use it, or you are blocking people from using this, and that's a violation also of their public rights. The State Lands Commission has been involved at Johnson's Beach. Oftentimes, they will come out and make precise determinations of what they decide based on surveys on what the scope of the public trust doctrine and exactly where their high water mark is. But it can fluctuate, it can change based on the changes in the river. So it is the ordinary high water mark and not what somebody decided in 1820 or something like that. And I think that's all the questions that were asked. I don't know the status in Geyserville of the public trust doctrine and the exceptions. The exceptions have to do, honestly, with the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, and I am not going to torture you. I'm just going to say there's a lot that could be said on that front. So that's all I have to say on that. If there are other questions, thank you for listening.
Thank you.
If I can just clarify.
Yes, go ahead.
So thank you for answering some of my questions. But clarification, please. So Johnson's is not an exception to the public access, correct?
The Johnson's Beach Resort area has received correspondence about its public trust and other people who are blocking the beach access. It is in the public trust area, and the State Lands Commission has sent correspondence related to Johnson's Beach.
And Bohemian Grove?
I'm not aware of anything with Bohemian Grove.
And then I'm just curious, Vance, how do you get the California State Lands Commission involved if there's a dispute about the ordinary high water mark?
I have contacts that I could provide to anybody who's interested.
Okay. Thank you.
Because you're so pleased to see
So that was really good to have Vern on there and to try and clarify things. So speaking from practical experience, actually, no, I'll start with the 10 feet first. That was, I didn't qualify that enough, I guess, but that's a rule of thumb. It's not there. The ordinary high water mark is different on almost every beach.
Right.
What we've seen from the delineations that State Lands Commission has done on the Russian River is in the lower river, it's roughly 10 feet from the summer high water mark. That's vertically, not from the water's edge horizontally. So if you kind of go up and you project that onto a beach,
Yeah.
you know, if you've got a flat, low sloping beach, there's a significant amount of beach.
Right.
But again, you know, State Lands Commission does, you know, make those final determinations, and Nanette Lee is the big staffer who generally handles that.
I've heard more about the vegetation line. That's something that keeps coming up.
Yeah, so there's the ordinary high water mark is further confused because there are resource agencies like the Army Corps of Engineers and the Department of Fish and Wildlife that their determination of an ordinary high water mark doesn't determine public access. It determines the boundaries of the permitting. So the U.S. Army Corps, when they determine an ordinary high water mark to determine if you're subject to the Clean Water Act, if you want to do something to a riverbed, it involves determining vegetation types. Is it an obligate, riparian obligate plant or not, or is it a terrestrial plant? So this is strictly speaking to public access, and that there's only one authority there in California, and that would be State Lands Commission. But thank you, because I was hoping I qualified that enough, but it wasn't. So hopefully everyone's got that straight. And then we've worked with both Boho Grove and Johnson's Beach, and you can't drive your car to the beach without paying a fee, but you can walk to the beach and use their beach. You can't grab one of their umbrellas and use it. You have to pay a fee. So there's, you know, yes, I mean, you know, conferring with the owners of both the past and present owners, you know, they do not prevent people going to that beach. If you want to drive a car down and park in their parking lot, that definitely requires a fee. So there are some, you know, it's a little gray. Boho Grove, they will tell you you can't land on the beach when they're in their active encampment. You can't. We've done that. You know, it just, there's no law against someone putting up a sign saying you can't use a beach. You know, but that doesn't mean that's the law of the land. So they have security guards out there. We've gone down there during encampment and just helped them realize that if someone really wants to land on this beach, especially if they're in distress, you cannot prevent them. They've said, yeah, we know. So those two, you know, it does apply. And then it does get a little fuzzy up in Alexander Valley, but we've actually investigated and tested public access law in Alexander Valley in areas subject to the land grants and Treaty of Hidalgo. And we've come out, you know, that's been determined on the side of public access. So it's pretty good. And then I think Rita's questions were more county focused. I don't know if it's parks or anything else, but I just want to speak to that since Fern spoke and then let Parks answer the others.
Okay, great. Thank you.
The chair, please help us keep the questions straight. We think we have them. It's because they kind of hit different ones of us at different points. So one of the first questions was about working with other groups and extending the shuttle to other areas, right? So would one of our shuttle people like to answer that? I can answer it as well, but please go ahead.
Excuse me, if I can, I'm gonna take this a little different route, and I'm gonna try and lump the whole shuttle questions together with a little narrative, so we're not bouncing all over the place. So, and I just, want to thank Sasha, who's our operations specialist, who's dealing with the day-to-day of this and working with the contractor and really making this happen. I just happen to know the finances and kind of how this started. So overarchingly with the shuttle, there's a finance question, there's an access question, a couple different things. I'll make sure I try and hit all of these. So with our shuttle program, we did what's called an RFP, a request for proposals, to hit the river parks that were most accessed, right? We had one person that actually—
Your parks, not
our parks.
Not
correct.
Parks.
No, our parks, yes. Sonoma County Regional Parks, which are your parks, and our parks. We manage those parks. So the parks that we manage, right, that we have control over. So the RFP, we got one bid on that. It was for these 2 buses. We've since been able to negotiate that contract to expand it. Right now, we actually have 4 buses going on a given Saturday because of all the extra folks that are using it. We have also seen an insane amount of people on the river this year. This has been by far the biggest year we've ever seen. And regardless of the shuttle, I mean, when you have 105 degrees on a 4th of July weekend and people are coming, they're coming. And our park rangers and our staff were out there trying to do what they could, but I'll be completely blunt. I mean, we didn't even have the ability to collect day use fees because there were so many people coming in and just trying to get people out of the access areas so that emergency medical could get in there if necessary was our priority. With that, we do work with Monterey, Rec and Park, with Russian River Parks and Rec, and we are happy to continue to do so and give them advice and work with them and figure out how this works with the local transit company or agency as well. Moving forward, we're still getting this under our feet. This is, I would say, our most successful year, and we're still looking at how do we expand that. Based on the finances of the project, right? This is Measure M funded, Parks funded. It's not meant to be a moneymaker or even to recoup its cost. It's a public benefit. That's what we're here for, is to take those cars off the road, reduce the GHG emissions, reduce the issues with the neighborhood. Each bus, each shuttle costs about $1,400 a day to use. And so each time we add that, that's just a flat cost. With that, we also switched in 2023, I think I'm doing this right, 2023, to the model that Sonoma County Transit is using as well. We want people to be able to use this at an affordable rate. So 18 and under are free. So we charge $5 per person, but we want you to be able to access the river, to access these things. I mean, there's not much for you to do except this. I mean, I've got 2 young kids with the screens, and it's like, no, go outside. So this was a great opportunity for them to actually get out on the river in a way that supports them. And then let's see, I think that was the shuttle questions, right? The usership, yeah.
So yeah, on that, because I did bring that up, and I apologize if it seemed like I expected you guys to fix that problem down the river, because I know they're not regional parks. But it is an issue, and I'm wondering, like, is there a way to work with Sonoma County Transit or someone else to connect your service from one place to another? So there is a contiguous drop off point to all the beaches that we are on, right? Yeah. That have congestion, people trying to park, and it's crazy. So I love what you're doing. I think everyone up here loves what you're doing, and we want more of it. Right? And that's the thing. I know it's not your responsibility, but can we work with the county or another group or some entity? Yeah. Even if it's piecing stuff together, to make it a contiguous thing that goes down the river to where most of the people are.
Yeah, and I'll just give 2 comments, and if Steve has some ideas on that, and Supervisor Hopkins definitely has that in her vision, which we've talked about, and no plot, like that's where we want to go to. That next step with the smart shuttle, that was one aspect where can we partner with smart? Yeah, okay, now how do we make this better next year so that it's even more contiguous, as you're saying? 100% agree. And I really quick, because I'm sitting right here, and then I'll turn it over to Steve if you want to talk about the different transit options. But there were swimming lesson questions, and we do the Vamos en Nadar program, and Monterey has always come up, and we were very happy. And I apologize, I'm speaking as the park manager now, not as our community engagement division, who does the lifeguarding and the all the life saving and the Vamos en Nadar and river patrol. I used to do that in my past life, but speaking for them, yes, that's something that we're engaged with. We're engaged with the community on providing those swim lessons because it is so important, especially in Monterey, where folks, it does seem to happen at least every couple of years. Yeah. So I think.
Well, just a reminder on the shuttle that Mother's Beach is a county regional.
Yes, it is. So I've got you circled there too.
Thank you.
You may remember in 2021, we did stop at Mom's Beach. So when we first rolled out the shuttle actually stopped there, and we had to discontinue use on the weekends because it couldn't get in and out.
There you go.
Based on the same issue. I know. So yes.
Has anybody thought about having a fire link, some kind of some way to limit parking?
I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Garrett right now. And,
just a thought.
Yeah, but to take another step back as we go forward to shuttle on, I just want to make sure it's really clear on the swimming lesson. So we offer free subsidized swim lessons that are bilingual through the YMCA in Santa Rosa and where else?
Most of the major cities.
Most major cities. So we are already doing a full-blown program of this. It's partially subsidized through our Sonoma County Regional Parks Foundation. So we have donors here tonight. Thank you. So on the shuttle, so one of the issues that we're really concerned about is when we introduce the shuttle system is people parking to get on the shuttle.
Yeah.
That is why we are so thankful to those of you that have supported our efforts here at El Molino, because there's a parking lot not being used on the weekends that is just perfect for this. So there already is the parking impact at Mom's Beach, also known as Forestville River Access. There always was. There was when it was expanded in the 90s. Of course, it dates back since before our department existed. That is why we bought a parcel that is disconnected from the beach, so we could develop that tiny little lot. And that was the best our little department could do. And it helps, but it's so far. So we try to work closely with our roads department, with public infrastructure, and we have in the Forestville area, they've put up no parking restrictions. It means going to the board twice with the new ordinance. They've put other limitations. I'm not sure. I know the height has come up before in some of these areas because of all the big buses coming up from the city, dumping 50, 60 drunk kids off at once. So that is the route we go. And when we bring a new park online, we are also the ones working with them, paying their time to establish those no parking areas. We've got into doing studies where for an affected piece of road, we will look at every single parking space and say, this is safe, this is unsafe. Of course, this is traffic engineers that do this for us. And then we run it through our public infrastructure. We need to identify breakdown lanes. So they always want a few of these things open, but if it's not safe, it's blocking driveways, mailboxes, line of sight, we're gonna physically block it. That's where we're headed increasingly in the county. So either it's legitimate, it's available, it's breakdown, it's signed emergency only, or it's blocked. So we're trying to move things towards black and white on the parking, but of course we don't control the road right away, but we work very, very closely with our roads department to do that. Every new project should be looking at all these impacts. And then of course, when we have these really old places, we're always looking to catch up and to do the renovation and figure out how to solve it, such as with the shuttle. We believe that one day there will be a shuttle that it hits private and public destinations, that it needs to be integrated. What we learned, we've been shopping the concept around for a while with Sonoma County Transit. We talked to even Mendocino has their transportation authority comes on down the coast and hits Santa Rosa, looked at them and SETA and others. What we need for recreation is totally different than their model. Their funding, their structure, they take 3 bicycles, no big coolers, no floaties, no wet people. Our folks have tons of gear. We need different run times. They have a whole different funding and complete structure. So it's that's where we started. That's where everyone starts. Why not Sonoma County Transit? So that doesn't work. And so we're trying to create it. And we do, there has been, I think it was discontinued COVID, a route from Santa Rosa out to Gorham Beach, some more issues to the coast, to the river in these regards. But we, as David said, we are working on scaling up. And we have the density of destinations on the lower river that can support this, but we have to prove it up to a point of where the private sector says, oh yeah, there's an opportunity, and then other people take it over and we'll just be serviced. But if we start stopping at places without parking, we're now going to create new problems. So that is the trickiness we are struggling with that kind of model on the coast. And also looking at for Sonoma Valley as well. Does that hit all the shuttle questions? So a bit more on the safety issues. We totally agree with the safety issues. None of those things should be happening. There's the enforcement aspect. We also like to solve everything through design. If we can stripe it and sign it or barricade it or whatever have you, we like to do that. I know without getting into specific areas on the lower river, there's many areas where there's a lot of public road right away, but there's somebody's pop-up garage on top of it. And there's a lot of encroachments on public right of way all throughout the lower river that would be available for parking or for loading zones or fire access. So at some point, there's often a healthy discussion around these sorts of things. So there's often you think, okay, stop all these visitors, but then you find out it's your neighbor that has one of the big awnings for their boat trailer or something. That there's a lot of those. Okay, where should we go next, Chair? The confluence and respect for Russian River, I think we touched on that a bit. Tracy's nodding.
Well, it didn't fully get answered though.
They're
They're the same message and they're still both going on. It's glad to hear that there's coordination, but why do we have two messages with the same intent instead of consolidating?
So I will give a little bit of context, but I'm not the right person to answer. And I'm sure that there can be a nice clean answer followed up by Tracy and Debbie. So the Respect Russian River program came out of the Supervisor Gore and Hopkins' efforts on trying to provide a big umbrella group to collaborate on a whole multitude of different issues on the Russian River. Planning issues, restoration, natural resource, all these different things. It was really optimistic and kind of visionary. And what happened was, as it evolved, it was the leaders of it decided to make it more manageable, I'll say. And so they decided, let's just focus on what we think we can accomplish, and we'll keep all talking and collaborating. And then it kind of bled into this Respect Russian River campaign. And so it started off very differently, where the Leave No Trace program is a national program, probably international too, that was driven out of the coast and not the river, but it makes sense for everything. And we were already kind of working on some of those same ideas. So it kind of came like this. Your point's a great one. And I'm sure our team looks forward to providing you a more concise answer.
Okay.
You did a great job.
Well, so are we gonna keep Respect Russian River, or is it gonna go away? It seems like
We can follow up with them.
okay.
So I'll move on to
we don't know the answer.
I think that there are some moving pieces, so we'll follow up.
Okay.
We'll move on to ADA and accessibility, if that's okay.
Right.
So it's a big important issue for us, starting with our ADA Park Pass program. So, you know, you can get an annual very discounted rate if you have an ADA placard. We always have ADA projects underway. The regulations changed a number of times. So the second we kind of finish paying the Golden Gate Bridge, we have to start over again, so to speak. But we're really excited about that type of work. So we try to address it through facilities, the infrastructure. We try to address it through programming. We try to address it through our policies. And we've added a managerial position of accessibility inclusivity manager, and they're really helping up our game in all these other areas. We're traditionally, we've been focused mostly on infrastructure and some of the policy side. So for example, at Steelhead, one of the challenges we've run into, we've used those Kevlar mats called Moby mats, and what David's calling the chute to try to keep people clear. And we go right through their warranties, you know, they just get destroyed, and we get a new one. So we're trying to figure out what is the sustainable way to provide that. We have a whole fleet of beach wheelchairs. We're piloting and testing a number of other contraptions that travel across sand. We're open to any ideas. We have a new feedback system that's online, where if you do experience something, you have an idea, a complaint, it's much easier than ever before to give us your thoughts. On the whole, we're way better than we were 10 years ago, and there's always room for improvement. And this is a quickly evolving field. And let's face it, we all know someone with mobility issues. Right. And it's not just mobility, it's also visual, it's hearing, it's developmentally disabled, it's all these other things that we're now looking at for universal design. So it's, you know, it used to be just wheelchairs, not anymore. It's everything. So does that answer your question?
It does, thank you.
E-bikes, David.
E-bikes are an excellent question, and they're evolving every day. And currently our policy on e-bikes is they're class 1 and class 2. So the pedal assists are allowed on our class 1 bike trails and trails with the speed limit posted. Yeah. That's, I think, where we're still at right now. You'll notice that the one wheels, the hoverboards, all these things are coming up, and we're reviewing those as they come through. And we're looking at best practices, national parks, state parks, other county agencies we're in, to look at what their policies are adhering. It's a double benefit, right? Because as we just talked about mobility issues, a lot of people are using them now to access places that they might not have been able to before. And that's a good thing. And then there are some people that are just ripping through parks, going way too fast, and that's not a good thing. And so we're trying to navigate that to the best of our ability and find those best practices where we can continue to allow people to use them in a responsible manner. I apologize, there's not more to that, but it's evolving as we speak. Great.
And if you have feedback on what you witnessed in our parks, please let us know. Because we are a little surprised at after the initial pulse of all that, the tone really settled down. People seem to get used to it, and the speed limit applies to everyone, not just the e-bikers. But so we did speech, safety. I'll just lightly touch on not the legal aspects with St. Johnson's or Boho Grove, but just regional parks perspective in general about where we might do new river access points. Johnson's Beach, of course, is in a separate parks district, Russian River Recreation Parks District, where our only facility there is Guerneville River Park, which we may extend the shuttle to Guerneville River Park, so that we're looking into that as a possibility, but who knows? So we're letting the local park district handle their historic facility, and that's also connected to their tax base too. That's part of their model over there. And as far as new river access, what we look for is not where there's an isolated beach necessarily. We look for where there's complete connectivity to a public road. Because we're regional, we're not local. We're trying to take care of local needs and take care of Santa Rosans and Cloverdale and on, you know, counties 3 hours wide. So that's why we're been involved with, say, Guerneville, but we're not going to really get involved in, say, a real small, you know, vacation beach issue, which is really important, but that isn't our role. So we look for where the stars align, and and we can only do so much. And so we incrementally add in, and we do have other spots coming along. So that's just a little bit more context. Parking on River Road with all the floaties in hand. I've had the joy of doing that too. A couple quick thoughts there. You mentioned the inflation station.
I didn't.
So we saw this problem, and actually there's other parts of it. So David and his team created an inflation station with a real compressor at Steelhead, so people can get their giant floaties inflated, and so we don't have that on the roadways. Also, so they're not laying out across 8 parking spaces and giant ones, and then that creates traffic backups and safety issues. So what's going on with the inflation station is there's a huge demand. It's got one little hose, even though it's a real deal, and we have some hand pumps. So we're looking at how we can make it more robust. I was there on July 4th, and there was a good half an hour plus line for that. So even something as small as that, we take very seriously, and we're looking for solutions. One other thought on Geyserville, there's case law where if you have the public road right away going over a navigable waterway, the public has a right to get down to the water. That comes out of a case with the Kern River, and I think it was the state versus Kern County. Trash, visibility, more receptacles, and fishing tubes.
I can do that. When I'm not working on the shuttle, I really, I do a lot with the regional parks and trying to reduce waste in parks and thinking more holistically about trash cans and trash receptacles. So just for riverfront, you're talking about riverfront, right? So in the winter, what we have to do there is remove a lot of our trash receptacles because of flooding. Because what we don't want is people's dog poo floating away into the river. But unfortunately, when we do that, what staff have noticed is that those fishing line receptacles become trash cans. So they start filling up with dog poo bags as well, which is really unfortunate. And that's why you're seeing those not in the parks during our slower months. They should be back in the parks currently, and I can check in with our staff out there to see if you know, if they haven't reinstalled them, why that may be. But we're trash, you know, it's been mentioned several times throughout this meeting. And so what I kind of do is I work with our partners at Recology and Conservation Corps North Bay, just thinking about what other things can we do. And one thing that we've kind of discovered it doesn't really work is just adding more and more receptacles, because we kind of tend to just get more and more trash, which unfortunately we have a lot of issues with wildlife getting into our trash. So if our staff aren't able to empty the trash at night, we come back to riverfront with trash all over the ground. And you know, animals have gotten into that, which is something we really don't like to see. So we're working on purchasing wildlife proof infrastructure that not only has trash cans, but also has recycling and compost to try to help visitors understand, you know, that has a big impact on our greenhouse gas emissions too. Actually, waste is regional parks' largest source of greenhouse gases. Well, visitor miles traveled and stuff from vehicles probably is the biggest one, but that's really hard for us to measure. We are able to measure our greenhouse gases from waste. So yeah, it's a big thing that doesn't have any easy answer, but we're really looking into different strategies, and I love this stuff. So if anybody has any suggestions, I'm really happy to talk with you. And then I was just going to mention with the EV shuttle, because I think that's the only thing that with the shuttle we maybe haven't answered yet. But we did put in our original request for proposal that we wanted an electric shuttle. It was just we only got the one bid, like David said, and the company doesn't provide them. They're quite expensive, but I think your idea of reaching out to, or somebody said reach out to Sonoma Clean Power, I think that's a great idea, and that's definitely something that we can explore. I'm not sure you know, what that would look like, but I think if we could do it, we would. It's a really cool idea. Did I answer the trash question, or did you have follow-ups? Or oh yeah,
just real quickly, having done trash at Guerneville Pride or Russian River Pride last year, I noticed that very few people, regardless of signage or color, put their trash wherever they please. So we were sorting bottles out of compost, and you know, so I don't know how to address that. But we had signage, we had pictures, we had colors, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
I've been to events where there are people standing at the trash bin on your end. Trash liaisons or whatever. So
yeah, I know
sadly,
why
do we have to do that? But yeah.
The Apple Fair, Zero Waste Sonoma hires, or not hires, they get volunteers to sit there, and then they end up with perfectly sorted trash. So I mean, that's even something I'm thinking about in the back of my mind as potential things to do during these big weekends.
Hopefully cheaper than San Francisco's trash containers.
Yeah.
At $175,000 each.
Oh yeah, those smart containers. Right. Yeah, we're not going that route. Yeah.
Can I just follow up with you?
Sure.
Thank you for your information. I understand what you're
Yes.
saying about animals and the type of receptacle that you have, and I do get it. If somebody sees a trash can, they'll just haul whatever they want. So I understand you're getting more than whatever might be being produced itself. So I'm understanding all of that. However, I'm wondering if you have the time and you look at the parks and if we say riverfront to actually analyze where some of the maybe soft points are where you could improve that. I understand the whole floodplain.
Yeah.
Trust me, you know, I get it. But again, whereas I said where you have the ticket kiosk and you have a lot of people going in the water, anywhere is going in the water right there. It seems like an ideal spot that maybe you should consider one of your special trash receptacles as well as a fishing angler's widely. It just is a high traffic point of interest where people come in. And the only other thing I'll do is I'll go dump it in the horse, what do you call it?
Oh,
Pile?
okay, yeah.
Right, so they'll put it there, or they'll dump it. So
Yeah.
I go with my bag, I pick it up because it's gross.
Thank
right?
you.
So.
We're gonna have to move on to the next one. So if you can just answer that quickly.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm gonna follow up. I'll give you my card and we can talk about it because I could go on forever about it. It's a big subject.
No, not tonight.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And really, we appreciate what you're doing. Okay, we're gonna move on to our next subject, which I believe is any committee reports.
I don't need to say anything on this, except that Nick, if you want to do a little walkabout and do a photo documentation for your bubble mirrors, I'm totally down for it.
Yeah, and I talked to him about that too.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Anyone want, there's stuff in the package. Anyone need to do a very brief summary of what you've done on your ad hoc?
Oh, I was saying it's in here. So remember how we said we wouldn't spend time doing this if we didn't need to?
Right, and that's what I'm
In the
saying.
packet. Yeah, so that's what I was saying to Nick, was we can do something like this that we photo documented, and I think it could be an effective tool. I hope you all enjoyed it. So it's passed on to District 5 to see if maybe that section can get cleaned up.
Yeah.
And we could do many sections in that way.
Anyone else? Anything in their ad hoc report anyone has questions about? So with that, the meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now it's adjourned.